fuel mileage. This is endurance racing at Bathurst.
Robin Fry's doing a 2:08 on lap 271. They're trying to stretch it so that this race will be 281 laps in total rather than 282, but I'm still not sure that that makes much of a difference for the leading Audi R8.
It might help the guys behind them, of course, because I'm still not convinced that 37 car can go another 10 laps. That would make it a 41 lap stint. Even if it's only 9 laps, 8 laps, that would be 39, 38 laps, and we haven't seen an Audi do that in green flag all day.
Well, if that car wins this race, it'll do a Captain Kirk and boldly go where no Audi's gone before, because they just haven't had that economy all day. So just to reiterate, we're not convinced that anyone in the top 4 can make it home, and there's still a question mark and some biting of nails going on. The car in 5th place, there's a safety car.
That's it, the 69 Super Pod. Audi has gone around Ash Walsh, and there's a Merc up there as well, Mercedes-AMG GT3 at least.
And car, I think, up against the wall.
That's an enormous accident.
Full course yellow. Now all bets are off. All bets are off. And down at Audi, they're getting ready for a car potentially to come in.
Side again.
So they're just communicating with the driver of car 19. It's John Martin behind the wheel. There's a Mark car there. So the driver moving around. Let's have a look. That's the WRT. Yeah, that's the leader going through. And Winkup goes through as well. And Crunch. Where does the Merc come in? Comes in afterwards.
Wait.
Oh, wow, that was close.
Just wait. The Merc's going to nail the door.
Oh, no.
Straight in. That is, fortunately, a left-hand drive car, so the driver on the far side from the secondary impact. 2 cars losing it almost in synchronization at the top of the mountain. The Mark V8 and the Superbarn Audi, and then the agonizing hit. Oh, that's a bad noise. That's a bad noise.
Wow. That's the safety car that Audi Sport WRT wanted, though.
It's John Martin in the 19 Mercedes that came in
Nowhere
laterally. Well, indeed. I mean, he got the nose of the Mercedes out of the way, but they're already into a lurid slide. See drivers out of the car, which is a good sign, but 3 cars involved. And the crew's concentrating, obviously, on the drivers first of all, then we'll look to clear up. But 18.5 minutes to go, and it's really tricky for anyone to pick their way through the shards of carbon fibre and other bodywork.
Yeah, danger of picking up a puncture through that as well. 18 minutes and 20 seconds to go.
I was standing down behind the Craft Bamboo team when that all unfolded, and they actually sent one of their mechanics to go speak to the Mark team, knowing that they were going to be caught behind them chasing the safety car. So they just wanted to make sure that they didn't lose too much time. But I hate to be the guy to say it, but I feel like this might just finish behind safety car.
This is not going to be the work of a moment in terms of clearing up 3 cars and making safe extrications for all the drivers. Robin Fringe. Now, the question is, has Fringe even got enough to go to the end under safety car, if that should be the case? I think now the Porsches, Krilsey, are all good with a little bit of yellow, with the amount of yellow that we're going to get, let's be honest.
Well, it'll condense the field. If and when we go green, it will condense everyone up. And out of those cars, I think Jamie Winkup might be the fastest. Being in 2nd place, I reckon he's quicker than that Audi.
Yeah.
On raw speed.
Hey, there's a win at stake, and Jamie's going to leave nothing out there on the track.
Well, it's funny you guys mentioned, can this car make it under safety car? Because the first thing that happened when that yellow came out and the safety car board was called for, the fueler went over and picked up the nozzle as if the car was going to be coming in, and then somebody waved him off. So I'm pretty sure that even if he can't make it to the end, they're not going to bring him in.
In the Audi pit, Chris Renke, crunching numbers in the red Audi Sport hat, is the man at the top of Audi Sport Customer Racing. We've got the big guns here, not just in teams and drivers, but also in the management. Because Chris Renke's the top man at Audi Sport, Frank-Stefan Walliser, the top man at the Porsche GT programme. So 2 cars spinning in unison at the top, just as Whincup had gone through there. And there's an agonising wait for the 69 as that Mercedes comes in and gives it a heck of a lick. Both drivers on the left-hand side of the car is surely a saving grace there.
Keith Kasulki next car through to pick his way through the debris. I'm still trying to work out which marked car that was that made contact. I think it was possibly Zane Goddard.
In the 33.
They've had an awful day, Mark Cars Australia. They're going to win the Invitational class. Wow.
And I'm not liking that sound, guys.
Let's have a look at this.
So the 19 losing it on his own.
That's fairly telling.
So he lost it on his own.
Darrell Young on right of screen.
Yep.
JH, a double winner of this race with Audi back in the day. So they've been real contenders in the past, looking to win this race again.
Well, Scott Taylor joins me now. We've just been watching these scenes here. We talked about it, not what you want to happen, to see happen, but certainly what the car needed at the moment.
Yeah, sure. We're touch and go on fuel because of an issue with a wheel nut earlier on. So we weren't going to go for a splash and a dash because it'd take us out of kind of out of a podium. So we were going to run the gauntlet a little bit. It goes well into the swell pot, so we get every last litre of fuel out of these cars, which is fantastic. Safety cars definitely helps us sort of. So it's all about conserving fuel, and we're still touch and go, to be honest, to get to the end. But we're going to give it a shot.
And I heard the message is going out to Jamie. Is it neutral or the clutch all the way down the hill?
Oh, just whatever we can do to preserve fuel in this car. So just all the typical things about, you know, we dare not turn the car off or whatever because I think that's too much risk or whatever. But we may put our foot on the clutch. We'll use high gears. We'll use whatever we want because we're going to go down to the last litre.
Can't wait. Extremely exciting stuff. Good luck, Scott.
Yeah, I didn't think they could go to the end. If they're worried about going to the end under yellow, there's not a chance they could have made it under full green. But that has changed the landscape.
It was Bryce Fullwood.
Yes, it was.
In that marked car that was stopped up there, saw him jump out in the Middies suit.
It's the
Eastgate racer.
Eastgate engineering car.
They were 4th in class.
And Gary Jacobson, 2nd in that class, so close
Heck
to
of a miss.
hitting the side of the 69 car before John Martin arrived on the scene. And an incredible bit of driving because he also had a car immediately to his left as well.
Yeah.
Talk about threading the eye of the needle. But there was always going to be somebody coming through there, unsighted obviously through that blind left-hander.
The good news is that all of the drivers now are out of their cars, Krill.
So that's Ash Walsh was behind the wheel of the Superbarns Supermarkets car. They were cruising around nicely within contention for the top 10, which would have been a solid day's work. Ash had a big crash not long before the Bathurst 1000 last year, actually, in private testing at Phillip Island, and was pretty battered and bruised from that. So he'll be very, very tender after this one. If there is a positive...
Race suspended, guys.
Oh, wow.
Race suspended. This is history being made here in the 12 hours.
To stop on the grid. There will be no work allowed on the vehicles. I repeat, the race is going to be suspended. The safety car will stop the field on the grid. Thank you.
Wow.
So a race suspension. No working on the grid. Paul Morris straight away, who's generally onto these, going, I'm going to check the rules.
Yep.
So they will pull the cars onto the grid. They will stop. You would assume the clock will stop.
Yes, it is, correct.
And no teams can work on the cars
now,
when they stop on the grid.
The issue here for the guys at the front is they haven't pitted to fill the cars up with fuel or splash the fuel. And now they can't because it's what's called park fermé.
All cars are to stop on the grid behind the safety car. There is to be no work attended to the vehicles. We will be very proactive on RMC channel to describe the restart.
So that's now the question on everybody's lips is how much fuel is still in those cars and how much running will we get, and will the clock start as they roll off the line? I think it will.
I'm just jumping onto race control to find out a bit more about the minutiae in this one.
Great news. All of the drivers have got out of the cars involved in this scary, scary incident at the top of the mountain.
There's Jacobson just sneaking through, but here comes John Martin, absolutely nowhere to go.
You're fully committed there.
Yeah.
There is one line, and the Superbarn Supermarkets car was right across it. Nothing that could be done. In real time from the wall, this is just scary. Just listen to the effects here. There's a whole long wait. Here comes John Martin now.
That's what 200 Ks into a stopped car sounds like. Real time. Wait for it.
Guys, that's a big hit and testament to the strength of the GT3 formula. Extraordinarily well held up, those cars, even after that big incident. You can't crash test a car for something like that. That's engineering at work.
The only silver lining about where that's happened is that it's right next to the John Hinksman Vista. So to remove cars, there's a massive car park just up there on driver's left. So they should be able to drag the cars out the way very quickly.
Clock is still running.
Up, but they haven't moved yet.
Clock is still running, and we're under 10 minutes. But the race has been suspended. Red flag.
There was a lengthy red flag, and just got a message from our good colleague Aaron Noonan about this. There was a lengthy red flag in 2010 when a tree fell across the track at Forest Elbow, but the race wasn't suspended. It was just run as a red flag. The clock kept ticking, so it didn't stop, and that is the race with the shortest ever distance in a Bathurst 12 hour at 202 laps. So there's precedent to that. I feel like they want to suspend the race because of the massive debris field up there, and they don't want cars running around it again and again. But
I think
yet to have
smart.
Clarification as to whether it means the clock stops or whether it just runs down.
Watch the clock when the safety car stops on the grid. I was explaining parc fermé. That's a French expression. Many of the regulations written in the French language, it means closed parking area, and it means that no one can go over the wall to touch those cars. You'll be allowed a driver assistant, and if they turn the engines off, which they will do, you'll be allowed assistance to restart the car, and that is all.
So, John, you've pretty much touched on it perfectly there, but I just want to absolutely clarify that point. So it's essentially like parc fermé right now. The cars have been stopped by the AMG safety car on the grid, and at the moment teams are not allowed to attend to those cars. So Aussie race fans might think back to the red flag that we had here in 2014 in the great race, the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000, and on that occasion the teams were allowed to work on the car, but right now no working on the car. So for those who need to make any adjustments or would like to add fuel, that's simply out of the order right now. And the clock, I can't see that clock right now, I'm sure our viewers can, but it is meant to stop as they stop on the grid.
8 minutes and counting as far as the clock's concerned, and there's some concerned faces down in all of the garages. Originally that would have been for the drivers. News filtering through quite clearly that all the drivers concerned have got out of the cars with a minimum of assistance. Now, the clock did pause for a moment, just over 8 minutes. It's now restarted and running again at 7 minutes and 31 seconds. And we still await something from race control.
So just hearing from Porsche before that red flag actually came out and we were still under safety car, they believe that the top 4 cars, and keep in mind, some of those are theirs as well, would not have made it under the normal conditions had we stayed green, and Matty Campbell would have come through to take the win because they did feel better on fuel than everyone else. Now with this situation, Audi's still not 100%, Mercedes still not 100%, but there are 2 Porsches that are feeling pretty darn good.
Extraordinary circumstances. This is unprecedented, Crailsey, in the history of the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 hours. a race suspension with clock still running. Now, if that clock doesn't stop, we're going to end the race with the cars where they are.
And not an enormous amount of headway being made at the top, or they
No.
assess what is a war zone of debris up there. An amazing impact.
To be honest, Krills, even if they get the cars out the way, there's a lot of sweeping up to do, and there's a lot of shards of carbon fibre.
So that's middle of shot. He's sitting down with the headphones on his James Taylor. Next to him standing up, Laurie Schmidt and Steve Lisk there on the stewards panel for this weekend. So the CAMS race officials are going to work out how this works. So the clock continues to count at our end. We're chasing clarification as to whether that will stop or whether this race will be extended.
Krills, you think back to 5:43 this morning. The first lap was behind the safety car at safety car speed, but it counted, and that was nearly 6 minutes. We are under that now. We are under that on the clock now. That 19 car just going around, it just snapped away.
Well, he was bailing out. He was trying to avoid a parked Audi in the middle of his road. So he tried to flick the thing hard left, I should say, to get out of its way, and the rear end broke around. So, yeah, nothing Johnny Martin could do in that instance. It is just so unbelievably blind, and if you've never been round this place and you can avail yourself of the opportunity one day, the two things that most people say the first time they see it is, crikey, it's blind, and wow, it's steep.
It's narrow as well, had that in.
Yeah, and real fast. That's a 200 kilometre an hour bit of road. And that was a parked car being hit by a car doing probably 185 k's an hour.
Right.
No attempt being made at the moment to recover any of the cars. They are all in seriously damaged
Race control
conditions.
to all teams. Race control to all teams. The race has been declared. The race has been declared. The safety car will lead the field into Parc Ferme. We will require car 37 to proceed slowly to perform podium procedures. I repeat, the race has been declared.
And Audi have won the 2018 Liquimoli Bathurst 12 Hours. The cheering that you could hear was from the WRT team. They hear it over race control radio. It's an odd way to hear about you winning a race. They've not seen the checkered flag. There'll be no more racing. And this is a unique set of circumstances here at the Liquimoli Bathurst 12 Hours.
I'll take a podium.
Wow. Third victory for Audi at Mount Panorama. Their last one was in 2012 with Phoenix Racing. They now tie Mazda as the most successful brand ever at Mount Panorama in 12-hour endurance races. They won 3 of them straight between 92 and 94. In the GT era, they are the most successful brand ever now. And on their first visit to the mountain, Audi Sport Team WRT win the Liquimoli Bathurst 12-hour, and they will add that trophy to their vast trophy cabinet that includes all of the major GT endurance races that the world has to offer.
This was the one that was missing for WRT. They get the opportunity, and they've come and done it. What a fantastic result. Under, I'm sure they will think, slightly unsatisfactory circumstances, but you've got to be in it to win it. And they were in the right place. No way they would have made the end. 75 car second and Porsche third.
We've just got the news. You've won the race. Obviously not necessarily the circumstances, but talk us through the emotion, the feeling just then in this garage.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's ecstatic. I mean, it's our first time here. It's one of the biggest races on the calendar. It's amazing.
James, what about you? The past 10, 15 minutes, really not knowing what's been going on at all.
No, I mean, I want to know how the guys are from it was a really big crash, so I hope they're okay, first of all. And then, yeah, second of all, it was a strange atmosphere in the box. You know, getting the red flag, all the cars had to stop on the start grid. But then, you know, eventually it's a win. Maybe it's not a win like crossing the line first, after when the count's on 0. But anyway, it's a win. It's of course very good for WRT. I mean, it's their first time out here, and you know, I think they're showing that they are always good prepared, and yeah, I mean, they're always just prepared like hell. Yeah. I mean,
Tell us, how did it live up to the expectations for the first time for the team here? It's a brutal race, huh? A brutal race.
Right. Yeah, it was tough. You know, rocking up your first time. The walls are so close. It's so easy to make a little mistake into a huge, you know, weekend over. But we kept it really clean the whole race and out of the wall, and tried to keep it out of trouble, and then pushed at the end. So. Yeah.
We'll let you go and celebrate the win. Congratulations.
Big congrats as well to Robin, because Robin did two hell out of the last two stints were amazing. So we're gonna see him.
Good luck. Go and give him a pat on the back. Well done, guys.
Thank you very much.
Well, for Kenny Habul, it was a welcome return to the mountain. You don't quite make it to the top step, but you still got to that second one. Does it only make you want to come back next year?
Oh, I just love this place. It was 20 years ago since I was here, and what an amazing job, thanks to Mercedes-AMG. I tell you what, I was as nervous as a butcher's thumb there at the end, because that was a big hit. And I'm glad the guy's okay. Everybody was more worried about that than anything else. But, mate, thank you to everybody here at Scott Taylor Motorsport and my teammates. Jamie drove well, Tristan and Raphael. And, you know, I grew up watching this when I was a kid. I was here in '87 watching Brock win in the number 10. I was 14 years old and I was cleaning the wheels. And I remember looking up at the podium when he was there and thinking, gee, that'd be amazing one day if I could do that. So it's come full circle. It's a big day for me.
Tristan, your first time to the mountain, did you think a podium was achievable?
Well, I think we would have taken it. You know, there's a bit of a feeling we were so close to the win that, you know, there's a bit like we really wanted it. But if somebody told us before the weekend you're going to get second, we would have signed straight away. And knowing how much this race means to Kenny, as he said, he grew up here watching Peter Brock sideways down the hill. It's very important for us. What we did today was our first time here. Lelo as well, Raffaele, Kenny and myself, our first time here, and we all did great, got up to speed quickly and ran a strong race. Of course we wanted to win, but what a result, thanks to Mercedes. The AMG was great on tires. We were good on degradation, not the fastest over one lap, but we were good over a stint, and that's what got us to the podium.
Congrats to you both.
Thank you.
It's an Audi win, gentlemen. Congratulations. Well done. Your first time here driving. What a way to kick it off.
Yeah, last year we didn't have the luck on our side. After 10 minutes we crashed. Very unfortunate, but we came back strong. During the race we had some problems. The first 3 hours or 4 hours we didn't have the radio, so we were struggling to box at the right point. So. But yeah, the last couple of hours, last stint especially, with fuel saving, a lot of fuel saving, and I think Jamie was doing the same thing, and tried to keep the gap as well. So it was quite tough, but eventually we kept it together and we won.
A grueling, exhausting day. How hard was it out there in the car?
It was pretty tough. I mean, there was a lot of traffic. To keep the car in one piece it's one thing, but you know, to drive at front is another, of course. But yeah, I'm just so happy that we made it. We had a lot of issues during qualify and free practices. We didn't have a clean run throughout the whole weekend, actually, and except the race. That's the most important.
What did you make of that mountain? How tough was that?
It is really tricky. Like one mistake and your race is done. So you have to be awake all the time, 12 hours long. But yeah, we did it all together. Dries for the first time here. Very young, but we won it all.
Congratulations, a major achievement by the team, boys. Time to celebrate, enjoy, and congratulations.
What a remarkable turn of events to conclude the 2018 Liqui Moly.